Hi there, my name is Sharvin Pandey, and I am the Cloud Solutions Intern at TechSoup Global this summer. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to pull data from Power BI and convert it into useful information using pivot tables in Microsoft Excel. So let's get started. This is the main dashboard in Power BI. The tab that we are interested in is this one right here, Program Management Customer Country Breakdown. We're going to click on it, and this is what you should see. Let's click on this drop-down menu right here. It's important to note that not every country is listed in this drop-down menu. So for example, we're not able to select countries such as Angola or Zambia because these countries have not processed any CSP sales yet. The countries that currently do have CSP sales are Zimbabwe and South Africa. So let's use the data from those two countries in our tutorial. First, I'm going to press on this one to deselect Select All, and I'm going to hold down the Command button on my computer on a Mac, and I'm going to click on Zimbabwe, and next I'm going to try and locate South Africa while still holding the Command button pressed down. I'm going to press down South Africa, and now we are presented with the data from these two countries. Next, I'm going to move over here to these little icons right here, and I'm going to press on the More Options button with these three dots. This drop-down menu comes up, and I'm going to click on Export Data. I'm going to click on Export once again, and as you can see, I get a notification saying that the data has been downloaded successfully to my computer. Now I'm going to go to my downloads and I'm going to open this file that was just downloaded. I'm going to maximize this. And now it's time to process this data in Microsoft Excel. So let's get started. First, I'm going to highlight all the data that is in this table. I'm going to go to Insert, Pivot Table, and I'm going to click on OK. Now, the time has come to construct our pivot table. First, I'm going to place the month fiscal year in columns. I'm going to place the country into rows, and I'm going to place the number of customer accounts in values. Now, it looks a little messy right now, but we can clean this up really easily. I'm going to press on the X right here to close that. And what we are interested in is this button right here, this little arrow that's pointing downwards. I'm going to press on this. I'm going to deselect this one. And this is where we can get started with our calculations. Let's get started with calculating our fiscal year 21 numbers. It's important to remember that in order to calculate this number, we need to use the June 2020 numbers and subtract that from June 2021 in order to get fiscal year 21 numbers. So I'm going to try and locate June fiscal year 21. This I am interested in, and this one I'm interested in as well. June fiscal year 20 and June fiscal year 21. Now we are presented with this data. Now, as you may have noticed, Microsoft Excel does a summation of fiscal year 21 and fiscal year 20 numbers. However, what we need is the difference in order to be able to calculate fiscal year 21 net new customers. So what I'm going to do is I am going to title this cell June fiscal year 20 to June fiscal year 21. I'm going to merge these cells so we have some more space to work with, and I'm going to underline it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this data, I'm going to copy it, I'm going to put it here, I'm going to title this cell as the total. And to calculate the difference, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I want this cell, the value of this cell minus the value of this cell, and I am going to drag it down so it does it for the remainder of our data. So here is what we have. So this means that South Africa had a net new of 115 customers for fiscal year 21, and Zimbabwe had a total of 3 net new fiscal year 21 customers. So in our particular case, we don't have any data for the year 2019. So what I'm going to do is I am going to pull the data from the region Africa that does have data for fiscal year 19. And I'm going to repeat the whole process with creating the pivot table. And then I'm going to be able to show you what you can do, the further analysis and calculations you can do when you actually do have data for multiple years. So in this case, we just had the data for fiscal year 21, but now I'm going to show you what it looks like, what you can do when you have more data over the course of multiple years. All right, so here we are back with more data. So let's continue now that we have more countries and more numbers to work with. So I'm going to do what we did about a minute ago. So I'm going to say that we want the net new for fiscal year 21, right? So I'm going to say I want this minus this, and I'm going to drag it down for the remainder of our data. Perfect. Now, what do you do when you want to get the fiscal year 20 net new numbers? Well, we're going to press back on this number, on this little button right there. And I am going to deselect fiscal year 21, and I'm going to select June fiscal year 19. So to get the net new of fiscal year 20, we want June fiscal year 20 and June fiscal year 19. So as you can see, we also have a little less data here now. So what I'm going to do is I am going to make another name here, June fiscal year 19 to June fiscal year 20. And I'm going to merge these as well. And I'm going to take this data, I'm going to copy it and put it in here. Then I am going to mark it as the total. And as you can see, we actually only have data for Kenya in fiscal year 19, but it's the same process. So we're going to do, we want this one minus this one. I'm going to go as such. And now we have the net new numbers for fiscal year 19. So now we can do some further analysis. So let's create a new table. I'm going to call it CSP customers. I'm going to merge the cell. I'm going to enlarge it a little bit. I'm going to call this country, fiscal year 20 net new, fiscal year 21 net new, and the percent in growth rate. Now I'm going to copy the list of these countries into here, and let's actually add some color into there so that we can differentiate between these cells like so. Now let's input the values for fiscal year 21 net new. So we have those right here. So I'm going to take this data, I'm going to copy it, I'm going to put my cursor right here, and it's important that you paste the values, or else it's going to paste with the calculations. So we don't want that. It's not going to work then. So there you go. And now for fiscal year 20 net new, because we just have a couple countries, so we can just enter those values in manually. So now we have inputted our fiscal year 20 net new and our fiscal year 21 net new customers. So we can do some calculations here with these numbers, and we can see what is the percent in growth between these 2 years. So how much percent have all of these countries grown percentage-wise in the number of customers that they have had? So what I'm going to do is I am going to say I want this cell minus this cell. I'm going to close the parentheses and divide it by this cell. And then I'm going to close the parentheses again. And then I'm going to drag this like so. And now it looks a little messy. So what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to convert all of these cells into the percent style, like so. Now I'm going to clean these up just by removing them like so. And now we can see how much each country has grown percentage-wise in fiscal year 20 and fiscal year 21. So we can see, for example, that in Ghana, there was a 50% growth. Now, if we want to tidy up our data even further, we can do the following. I'm going to call this total. I'm going to say I want the sum of this data, and I want the sum of this data. And then we can see the total percent growth change by doing the same calculation, but then using these data, these values, and then divide it by this. And there's our total percent growth change. Now, what's useful is actually to sort this data by the country that had the most customers, because the percent growth rate can be biased. So, for example, Israel had a 400% growth rate, but that's because they jumped from 1 to 5, while South Africa had 180% growth, while they jumped from 41 to 115. So what you can do is you can take this data and you sort from largest to smallest, and you want to sort and expand the selection, and there we have a clean and organized view of our data. So that is how you can do some further analysis of the data that you pull from Power BI. I hope that this tutorial video was helpful for you, and I wish you all the best. Take care. Bye-bye.